LeBron James all the way in.
And here comes Simmons the other way, 3-on-2. Simmons eludes the defender and lays it in with that. Certainly the length altered that shot. Out of the equipment, steps and crunches.
Play right there. Porzingis from Jennings, throw down and a foul.
Irving, splits the defense with the dribble.
This new kind of wave, I mean, I know it's been a while, but this wave of international players being a lot better and more skilled in some aspects than these American-born players. What do you think is like the key to like a Giannis suddenly booming up compared to, I can't even think of an example in the last couple of years. I mean, Paul George, I guess, would he be?
We can use Paul George. I mean, all three of the dudes we were just talking about are all foreign dudes. Ben Simmons, Australia, Kristaps, Latvian, and then the Greek Freak. I think it's kind of the way they play basketball, maybe. Like growing up, their style of basketball. I do think like U.S. basketball tends to lean towards the athleticism being the main key to being a good basketball player.
Right.
Whereas some of these other countries, they focus on the fundamentals a lot more in learning how to do that, and I think that's where the game is going right now. Like your fundamentals are what is kind of dominating. I mean, the Greek Freak is it's kind of a weird example where he literally is just such a freak of nature athlete that he can do anything he wants. But like Kristaps, his fundamentals are great. Ben Simmons, same thing. I don't know. It's got to just be the way they learn to play basketball is different, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, if we even just look at next year's draft in the 2018, this kid, Luka Doncic from Real Madrid, the basketball team feeder program, I mean, he's the number one pick so far.
Yeah.
Compared to guys like Marvin Bagley or Michael Porter Jr. even.
Yeah.
Like all these other guys that are from America. It's just, I know we kind of fell in love with it, and we've seen some bad examples of how international players aren't good. So people like who's the dude from the Pistons?
Which dude?
Mitrovic? No, I can't even. That's such a. The dude drafted in 2003 with LeBron and all them.
Hold on, I'm looking it up. I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember. I'm looking it up. Who do we got? Darko Milicic.
Darko Milicic, a perfect example of a dude that apparently had everything, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just like the lowercase examples, but I just think this new wave because of, especially Canada. I think Canada. I mean, really, it's America. So I mean, I don't know if I really want to count that, but I think this new wave of international players and everyone playing well, and I think it's going to lead to no more dominance of the USA basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to lead to countries and teams wanting to compete against America in the World Cup or the FIBA. I just think it's going to raise to a whole nother level as soon, because these guys actually go out to these countries and host a camp.
Yeah.
So like LeBron would go to China, Kobe goes to China.
Yeah.
It just leads to this whole new era of great basketball players, and I'm glad that we're seeing this now. It's just a breath of fresh air to see that you don't have to take this route of going to college anymore. I know this is like diverting from the topic itself, but you don't have to go to college anymore for these international players. You could just play on your I don't know what you call it, like feeder team, like the U.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. You play on like the Real Madrid guy. I mean, that's a great example. What's his name? Luka Doncic,
Yeah,
right?
Luka Doncic.
That's awesome. I think it's probably better competition because he's probably playing against like older dudes. I don't know how I just want to call it like La Liga basketball, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how their league works, like if it's only in a certain age bracket, but I would assume that it's probably not, right? He's probably playing in the Spanish league.
I'm assuming he's playing in like the main Spanish. I'm sure it's like kind of like football or soccer to the Americans, where it's like you go from like U17 to like U19 and then eventually to the main team.
Yeah, I mean, well, just if that's the case, think of the fact that he's playing against grown men who've been playing basketball a lot longer than he has. It's a better learning experience than playing in college, where 95% of your competition are never going to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
So playing in a professional setting, even if it's not on the same level as the NBA, is definitely better learning than playing in college against trash teams. You know?
You know, like a Chattanooga State.
For some of these players, it's like you have maybe 8 to 12 games of the season against actual quality competition.
Right.
And that's what your sample size is going into the NBA. Like some of these teams, it's just like, well, even let's think of players from Gonzaga. You know, those dudes play 20 trash teams a year.
Right.
No offense to Gonzaga, but they really do play a ton of trash teams. So to just assume that they're good based on the fact that their team goes 30-0, but they're playing 25 bad teams or 20 bad teams, and then they play 3 good teams. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's a great like learning experience as well as it's a good example of their actual quality.
Right.
I'd rather see a dude like Luka Doncic play against a bunch of grown men in the Spanish League of Basketball.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an interesting thing to think about. You know, international teams they just know, and they just run these fundamental camps. Everything just seems picture perfect with them. And there's not this like NCAA barrier where you have to play a year, where you're not really getting the best like you're showing off your talent and you're getting better in some aspects, but not to the point where these teams like Real Madrid can boost you to getting these top 10 picks. I mean, there's a reason why there's always usually like an international guy that's like a top 10 pick every year.
Mm-hmm. Who's the guy that Orlando took a couple? Or no. Vucevic. About Dario Saric for the 76ers.
Yeah, Dario Saric.
I mean, those guys are good. Those are good players. What about Jokic?
Yeah, Jokic.
Good player, too. A lot of these dudes that are starting to come up right now are all, like, just foreign dudes, and they're dominating.
Right.
I love it. I like to see that. It's not just the United States destroying everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that because, you know, it's very boring to dominate all the time. You know, you want some competition or else you get complacent and then you end up losing to trash teams.
Yeah, it's not a bunch of Vince Carter jumping over entire teams or whatever like it used to be. They actually have quality competition.